So we talked about the pros last week. We said the pros of Tri-Cities is affordable cost of living, and there's some economic diversity with ag, business, tour business, science, research. But what are some of the cons of living in Tri-Cities, if we're being fair and open on this?
To be honest, as a lifelong resident since I was 3 with some detours elsewhere, heat.
John,
dust storms.
Stop. We're number one, like on the list. You and I are so in sync, and I think because we've lived here a long time, right? And so we feel that. So I put very hot summers. I mean, we're many, many times in the triple digits. Sometimes, 107, 108 for a couple weeks, even when we're not. Very common to be in the 90s. So I put down there, which a lot of people aren't always used to. I put air conditioning is fairly essential.
Yes.
In that time frame. And so you're going to have some costs for cooling. It is that high desert climate. Mm-hmm. And so most homes in Tri-Cities, especially new construction, come with AC.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that we see a house without AC. So it's considered less optional. So you should be prepared for that.
I have a sister-in-law that lives near Bothell, and many of the homes are not built with AC.
Yeah, I didn't.
She has a wall mount unit, but it didn't come with an HVAC or central heating and air heating, but no AC. Yeah,
it like it too. I remember when I moved my daughter to college and they moved into the dorms in Boston, East Coast and some of that Northeast, you're like, wait, there's not AC in every room. And, but it's a very smaller window that you need. And so you have to use window units and stuff like that. So if you're seeing or looking at a property that doesn't have AC, that's going to be probably a big upgrade that you're looking and wanting to have.
Yes.
And you also want to make sure it can be expensive. So you want to make sure in the house you're buying that it is functional. And you hit my number 4. So you hit 1 and 4 because you followed the heat up with, I had down wind and dust.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you said. You said dust, wind. And so I will never forget that my wife moved to Tri-Cities from Portland in March when we first graduated from college and got engaged. She moved to Tri-Cities in March, and I almost lost her. Almost like engagement over. Like by the end of March, she was like, "What in the F is the wind around here?" And I was like, "I promise you, there's 2 months, November and March. If
and
you can make
sometimes during the summer when we have an inversion."
Yes, absolutely. So there can be some wind. We are in a little bit of wind. So I do caution people, if you're coming in March or November, it's gonna be a little bit windier than some point. And I never thought, I just kind of used to it after growing up here, but there are places that don't get that much wind or it's rare. And so that was my big one for sure there. So the other thing that I wrote down, and it was apparent in the news this last week, is we are somewhat dependent still in this area on federal funding.
Yeah.
And, we saw some headlines like when we talk about the cleanup budget at Hanford, you talk about, $300 to $400, $500 million shift in that budget.
Yeah.
A lot of that money goes directly into households in our area. Now, we're less dependent on it than we were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it still gives a certain uneasiness to the area. So if somebody's moving here, aren't familiar with the federal funding and the cleanup at the Hanford nuclear site, that's one of the things that you'll have to get used to in this area for sure. So what's another con that you can come up with for Tri-Cities that people should at least consider before moving here?
Certain areas that have not been adjusted traffic-wise to accommodate the increased flows.
Oh, right. Okay. Absolutely. So part of quick growth, we've grown very, very quickly. So there's a couple bottleneck areas where the traffic is, because you and I are spoiled. We think traffic is more than 10 cars at a singular light.
395 Vista Way, Kennewick Avenue.
395 Vista Way, Kennewick Avenue. Certain time periods of the day, Road 68.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
A lot of the development at Road 100 is finally starting to take some of that congestion off, but there's still a ways to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are some areas that can definitely be that way. Along with traffic, what I put down here as well, kind of in that same category, commuting in this community without a car is very challenging.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very difficult. I mean, I know our transit system, shout out to them. They do the best they possibly can with the resources we have. But if you think you're coming to a city where you don't have to have a car, there are going to be some challenges that you have.
If you live in Pasco and work in Richland or vice versa or anything, you're going to need four wheels.
So that's one of the cons that I put down for that situation. All right, John, you're crushing this right now. Like, yeah, I don't even know why I came up with my list, because I could have just come and done the show without any notes. Okay, do you have another one for me you want to throw in there? I mean, I've got two more here. I'm going to see if we
I'm
cross up on this.
a blank.
Okay, so the other one that I put down is we are still in what I call small town entertainment and nightlife scene. Okay, so like if you're looking for a very trendy, get after it nightclub, nightlife scene, it's not here.
Well, I think there's two country bars.
John, we're too old to speak on this topic. Like, I don't even think you and I can add detail to this.
Yeah. Well, I know there's the Long Branch in Findlay. If you want a real country bar,
and then Daisy Ranch in the uptown, right? Is that what it's called? It's something like.
And then there's trying to think of it. The what do they call it? Downtown Kennewick. Used to be the Cowboy Club, but it's Branding Iron.
Okay,
I think that's about it.
You've got options, but they're not like your Seattle, Vegas, Portland, Phoenix, Boston. Like that, it's just not quite that. So, one of the benefits and trade-offs that you're going to have is that we do have, less crowded restaurants. You can usually get into places when you need to go, and our costs are a little bit lower. But if that's what and we don't get a lot of like the headliners like they get at like the Gorge. We're starting to get some really good acts come through. Like Zach Top came through last year, and some of those others. And, and I know we've had some entertainment. The Cirque shows have come through from limited series, but it's not quite like the bigger markets. So I had that one down as one too. The other thing that I put down that is and I think that goes along with that, why we don't have, is we're big. I always give this saying to people: we're big enough to have nice things, but we can't have nice things because we're three separate cities, right? So like if you look at our metro population area, our draw is big enough to get some of these big name things, but a lot of that happens because one city or entity pools their resources to put that draw together.
Yes.
And with us having three distinct cities, Richland, Pasco, Kennewick, it's more difficult to get that to happen because of the way of our setup. And so I think that contributes to it. There are also some bonuses and distinct characteristics of those three cities, but we're giving a realistic picture. So commentators from last week, here's your realistic picture. The last one I wrote down, there's nothing you can do about this. It's not scientific, but I'm just saying it. I think Tri-Cities sometimes can be cliquey, like a big high school, like a little bit cliquey. And John, the problem with that is transplants to our area. Because you and I have been here a long time, right? So we have some of these entrenched, like, where you're like where kind of like you and I, we make jokes and banter about it, but you're like, oh, your kid goes to Richland, Lance. Well, my kid's at Commuting, and we, and so like you and I joke about it really good, right? But if somebody's coming from the outside in, they're like, what are you two knuckleheads acting like this for?
Yeah.
And so I think as we get bigger and bigger, some of that goes away, but I still think some of it's there. So I always tell people, give us 3 years and then other people will start talking to you.
Yes.
Like once you live here for 3 years, then we know you're going to stay. It's okay.
Some of it depends on your license plate.
Yeah, there's that too. I tell you, I've been in some communities lately too where, you want to get that changed pretty quick. And if your number's not 509, then we're going to know. So,
we're going to know.
So, okay, that was the last one on my list. I really did this just so that people moving to this area, we get a lot of people watching the show and listening that are considering the area. Every single one of those, I have a pro for that outweighs it. But I just, I wanted people to have a realistic standpoint of what we tell people when they're coming here and what they need to know when they're making the move. Tri-Cities, the ones that are coming here, we would love to help you. We'd love to interview for that job to help you. And if you're just tired of the con list and you need to sell your house, then I'll help you leave. So I can come over and give you an evaluation and get that thing sold for you. Go to kenmoreteam.com and we'll be right back here next week.